Hey everybody, it's Dr. Amy Myers. Starting a little bit late for our Facebook Live, where I am going to tell you about why conventional medicine is failing all of us with thyroid dysfunction. So I am on vacation, as many of you all know, and was out and about in Durango, Colorado, and got my times wrong. So thank God for Jordan Davenport, who is my head of marketing, who was texting a few minutes ahead of time asking if we were ready. So shout out to Jordan that I am actually here. Having to do this from my hotel room, I was hoping to pick a beautiful place in Durango, Colorado to be able to talk with you guys. But we ran back to the hotel and I'm propped up on the bed in my hotel room. So hopefully y'all don't mind this informal chat about why conventional medicine is getting thyroid dysfunction all wrong. So before we get into that, I'm going to explain that and then get on to all of y'all's questions. I first want to thank everybody who's joined in for the previous Facebook Lives. And of course, thank all of you all and appreciate those of you all who have pre-ordered my book, The Thyroid Connection. We've had just amazing feedback of people who have ordered the book so far, and appreciate everybody pre-ordering their book. So welcome, Allie. I already see a couple of people online here, so this is great. All right, so I'm going to take a sip of water because I literally ran in and ran straight here to get on the Facebook Live to be as on time as I could. So let me take a quick sip of water, and then we're going to get into why conventional medicine is really failing those of us. Hi, Cheryl. How are you? From New Zealand. Awesome. Welcome. Let me take a sip here. My hydro flask from Bend, Oregon. Highly recommend these. I travel with these. We have like 3 different water bottles from Hydro Flask around the room. So that's one of the tips that I do to stay healthy and not drink out of plastic bottles while I'm traveling, is to drink filtered water and fill up my water bottles all day. Hi, Leanne. Hi, Claudia. Hi, Laurel. So let's get started. And hi, Leanne. So I'm going to get started, and then after I am telling you guys about why conventional medicine is failing those of us with thyroid dysfunction, you guys can jump in and start posting your questions, and my staff will get those to me. I have Javier over to the next. We're both on our bed here in the hotel room, and Jordan in Austin, Texas, who will be also posting some questions for me from you guys. All right, so conventional medicine really gets thyroid dysfunction wrong for multiple reasons. One of the first reasons is how they are testing for the thyroid. Or maybe actually I should back up and say, for some people, they're not even testing your thyroid at all. That is because often the symptoms of thyroid dysfunction can be the symptoms of many other things. Often, particularly if we're talking about hypothyroidism, it can be that you're fatigued, or that you've gained some weight, that you just don't feel like yourself, that you feel cold, or your hair is falling out. And so many doctors, particularly since thyroid dysfunction hits more women than men, often discount this as being something else. Many people suffer from thyroid dysfunction at hormonal changes, meaning after they've had a baby, or as they're going into perimenopause or menopause. And so often those symptoms can just be written off as being related to having had a baby. You're a new mom, you're exhausted, no wonder. So they don't even check your thyroid. Or you're going into menopause, of course your hair's falling out, or you've gained 10 pounds, and so they don't even check. And then of course, for all those men out there who may be listening, they're typically not even checking in men at all, because this is really thought to be more of a disease for women, but it does not mean that as a man you cannot have thyroid dysfunction. So I would say the first way in which conventional medicine is failing those of us with thyroid dysfunction is they're not even checking for it. The second way in which conventional medicine is failing those of us with thyroid dysfunction is the way in which they test for the thyroid. They're typically just doing a screening test, and the screening test is doing a TSH. And a TSH is really just checking to see what your pituitary is doing. It's not even telling us really about the thyroid. There is something called a negative feedback loop between the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and the thyroid. And so it's really telling what the pituitary is telling the thyroid to do, which is to produce more thyroid hormone. So there are many other tests, and of course I talk about this in the Thyroid Connection, very specifically what tests to get, what tests to ask your doctor for, as well as what are the optimal reference ranges, and we'll get into that. What do I look for, and what do I think is optimal for my individual patients? So, hey, Kate Freeland. Kate was my college roommate. Happy to see you on here. Where typically they're only checking a TSH. And so a TSH is not telling us really what the thyroid, about the thyroid. It's telling us what that axis is doing. And when they do a TSH, again, that's just a screening marker. They're missing out on doing a free T4, maybe a total T4 as well. But I really want to know what the free hormones are doing. It's the free hormones that go into all the receptor sites. It's our free hormones, whether we're talking about sex hormones, thyroid hormones. These free hormones are the ones that are actually active. When they're bound to something, which is typically called a total hormone, they're bound to a protein and they can't even be utilized in the body. So we want to know what your free T4 is doing, and mostly what your free T3 is doing. A free T3 is the most active form of the thyroid hormone. Free T4 is a storage form and is not active. Free T3 goes into all the receptors, goes into our cell, is what gives us energy, keeps our mind working, keeps us from gaining weight, keeps our hair from falling out. And it's this free T3 that we really care about. Of course, I also check a reverse T3 and then antibodies for thyroid to see if you have thyroid, if you have Hashimoto's or Graves', or if you're having autoimmune dysfunction. So most doctors are only checking a TSH. So again, doctors are typically not checking. When they do check, they screen with a TSH, and they're not checking all the other markers that are far more important, importantly, a free T3. And then the next reason that they're failing all of us is because when they do check these markers, whether it's a TSH, or sometimes you're lucky and you do get your doctor to check a free T4 or a free T3. And when that happens, then they're looking at the normal reference range. And one would think, okay, great, I fall within normal reference range and my labs are normal, therefore I can't have a problem. Well, no, this is the whole other reason that conventional medicine is failing us, because you can absolutely have a problem. The reference range, particularly for the TSH, was created by testing a whole bunch of people for their thyroid. And later they found out that many of these people actually had hypothyroidism. They had thyroid dysfunction, and they were used for the normal reference range. How crazy is that? So the reference range is way too broad. In most labs, it goes from about 0.5 up to 4.5. And even the Academy of Endocrinology, which is the main group over the thyroid, says that range is way too broad and it should be brought down to about 3.2. Many of us in functional medicine, integrative medicine, people that are doing personalized medicine and listening to our patients would say that no, in fact, this needs to be down between 1 and 2, or even lower if you're on some sort of supplemental thyroid hormone that has a T3 as a component, because free T3, and that would be like Armour or Nature Thyroid or a Cytomel or a compounded T3, these can artificially suppress your TSH numbers. And so many of us, I mean, of course, I always check a TSH, but I'm really not, putting as much stock into that. I really want to know about the free T4 and a free T3. So of course, I talk all about this and give many case studies in the Thyroid Connection about patients who've come in from other doctors in various scenarios, only had a TSH checked, maybe even had a free T4, even gone to integrative doctors and had a free T3, but they're looking at this normal range still. So it's not only just conventional medicine. I mean, you really need to work with a doctor who gets this. And I understand there might not be a lot of doctors out there that get this, which is the point of my book, The Thyroid Connection. The Thyroid Connection is really a book for you to work with your doctor. It is for you to take a copy of this to your doctor. It has very specific what tests to do, what are the reference ranges, what are optimal ranges. Okay. So, and what I want to stop and pause here before I continue on about how else conventional medicine is failing us is for anybody who's just now joining us, you can post a question below. Those will get sent over to me by my staff. I'll answer those in a few minutes. If you like this video, if you could please share it with anyone, like it and share it. We've reached tens of thousands of people with these Facebook Lives, which is so amazing. And I appreciate all of you all who've joined, liked, shared. So please, anybody who has any type of thyroid dysfunction, whether it's hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, Graves', hyperthyroidism, thyroid cysts, thyroid cancers, thyroid nodules, post-thyroidectomy, post-thyroid radiation ablation like I had, this book and these videos will be so helpful for every one of those types of people. And of course, the people, which is who probably those of you joining us here today, those people who've been told by their doctor that they do not have thyroid dysfunction because their labs are normal and they are still having symptoms. So that is a huge part of my book, and obviously what this conversation today is about. So let's go over that. So conventional medicine is failing us because they are not even checking a thyroid. When they do check thyroid tests, they're often only checking a TSH, and they are not checking the other thyroid markers. And then the other way is that when they are checking and getting your results, they are using normal reference ranges rather than optimal reference ranges. The additional way, or the fourth way in which conventional medicine is failing us, is that they are not looking at nutritional deficiencies. And I can tell you in my clinic, it is probably one of the number one reasons for thyroid dysfunction. So again, we need a lot of different nutrients to make our thyroid hormone and then to make this conversion from T4 to T3. And again, T3 is that active form of the thyroid hormone. And if you don't have enough selenium, enough zinc, enough iron, enough tyrosine, enough iodine, you are not going to make this conversion properly. And that is a huge reason that I see for thyroid dysfunction. And conventional medicine isn't doing any testing. They're not talking to you about diet. They're not talking to you about supplementation. And so this is a big reason that conventional medicine is really missing the boat with thyroid dysfunction. And then the fifth and final reason why conventional medicine is failing us. I mean, I could probably go on and on about how they don't listen to patients and they're only looking at your labs and they're not looking at you as a person and treating you as an individual. I could go on and on about all of that. But another reason that conventional medicine is failing those of us with thyroid dysfunction is that they don't believe that there's anything that you can do about it. They're not checking antibodies if you have autoimmunity because they don't really believe that you can reverse that and that there's anything that you can do. And they believe that once you have thyroid dysfunction, you have thyroid dysfunction. And whether it's hyperthyroidism like I had, the treatments are harsh of medications, or having your thyroid ablated, or having a thyroidectomy, really dramatic, harsh treatments, many of which that cannot be reversed once that happens to you. Or if you have hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, that you just have a life of synthetic supplemental thyroid hormone. And, that's totally not true. I have reversed Graves' disease or helped people reverse their Graves' disease. I never take credit 100% for anything that I do because, patients have to follow a program that I implement and change their diet and change their lifestyle and do testing and do various protocols. And so I never take 100% credit for that. I just feel like I'm a facilitator helping people, giving them knowledge and guiding them on the path. So that being said, I have helped many people reverse their Graves' disease, help them lower their thyroid antibodies, not have to be on supplemental thyroid hormone, get on it and get off of it. And one of the things that I want to say is, for those people listening, I call this supplemental thyroid hormone because that's what it is. For some people, it takes an average of 6 to 10 doctors, 5 years to get diagnosed. And so many people, by the time they get diagnosed, there has been irreversible damage to their thyroid. And they may need to be on some form of supplemental thyroid hormone the rest of their life. If I didn't take my supplemental thyroid hormone, I would die, literally, because I don't have a thyroid. So I don't want anybody who's on it to feel like ashamed or beating themselves up that they can't get off of it. There is still value in the book, which is finding the underlying cause, why you got this in the first place so you don't get anything else, to stop the damage so it doesn't continue going, to figure ways to optimize your thyroid function and your health in general so that you don't maybe need to be on as much supplemental thyroid hormone. But anyway, conventional medicine, really believes that there's nothing that can be done to, prevent this, stop it in its tracks, or even reverse it. And that is absolutely not true. I see it day in and day out in my clinic. And of course, hear success stories. Hi, Dad. My dad is on. So love to see you here, Dad, on Facebook. All right, so I'm going to just recap real quickly about the 5 ways in which conventional medicine is failing those of us with thyroid dysfunction, and then I will jump in. It looks like we have a number of people on, and hi, Claudia, and how to explain this to my husband. Well, we'll get into that, but I think getting the book will be a great way. It'll be a great way to explain it to family members, loved ones, friends, your doctor. It will be great. So I'm going to take another sip of water because remember we raced in here. We thought the time was a different time. I've been in several different time zones over the last week or so, trying to take a little outdoor vacation with my hubby in the high desert, escaping the heat of Austin. So I'm going to take another sip of water out of my hydro flask from Bend, Oregon. And hope y'all don't mind this real informality, of me just being here, being casual and being myself, because this is how I am, just talking to you guys and hopefully helping you out. So let's recap how conventional medicine is failing those of us with thyroid dysfunction. They are not testing for thyroid because it frequently can be, your symptoms can be attributed to something else. And if you're a man, because typically this happens to women. So if you're a man, this can happen to you. And I have plenty of male patients with thyroid dysfunction. This can happen to you. So, you definitely want to stand up and press your doctor for that. When they are checking, they're typically just doing a TSH, which really is telling us about the pituitary, not about the thyroid. They are not checking the other markers that I go over in my book, free T3, free T4, TSH, of course, reverse T3, and thyroid antibodies. Then when they do get the test, then they are often looking at normal reference ranges, not optimal reference ranges. And there is a vast difference. And of course, I cover all of this in my book, The Thyroid Connection. Then they are not looking for nutritional deficiencies. And, this is a huge problem that I see in my clinic. There are various nutrients that I go over in my book, The Thyroid Connection, that you need for your thyroid to be working optimally. And then they are not thinking that this can be reversed. They're not checking antibodies. They're not looking at the root cause and the underlying cause. And of course, my book, The Thyroid Connection, goes under these over the underlying causes, which I typically see not only nutrient deficiencies, but of course, dietary food sensitivities, leaky gut, toxins, infections, and stress. So I'm going to jump into some questions here and just want to remind people that the Thyroid Connection book will be available September 27th. If you pre-order your book right now through any online retailer, we have over $1,000 worth of free gifts on my website. And we just added a new gift, which is a $10 gift card that you can use on my online store. So I'm going to have a multivitamin that I talk about in the book that I formulated very specifically for those with thyroid dysfunction that should be released right around the time of the book, that you could save that coupon and use it for that. And there are tons of free downloads. And of course, you can enter to win a chance to come visit me in Austin, Texas, an all expense trip paid. One person will get everything paid for, hotel, airfare, everything by me. 4 other people will get everything when they're in Austin paid for and have a discount at the hotel, which is a fabulous hotel. And I have partnered with a whole group of people that I use in my personal daily life, like Well People makeup that I have on right now. It's the only makeup I wear. It's local to Texas, Austin, Texas, and it's all natural and free of all the terrible stuff that I tell people about. We're going to go get manicures at Milk and Honey, my favorite spa in Austin, Texas, that uses all natural nail treatments. And going to picnic for lunch and taking a walk around Town Lake and going to dinner at Trio and having a stop at my clinic and meeting all my staff. So it's going to be a super fun time. If you guys purchase a book, if you purchase 5 books, you automatically enter to win that. And of course, you can submit your story and enter to win that. And then this weekend only, starting today, right after this Facebook Live is over, we're having a new promotion. Every week we're doing different promotions. And this week we have an incredible one where it's 50% off the paleo protein powder, the Myers Way paleo protein powder, which I also talk about in the book, and have lots of breakfast recipes and smoothies in the book using this protein powder. It's amazing. It's from non-GMO, grass-fed, hydrolyzed beef protein. I know it sounds absolutely disgusting, and at first I was like, no way, I am addicted to this stuff. In fact, I brought some with me on our travels, and the co-op here in Durango has been so kind that when we've gone over and gotten smoothies, they've been able to throw in some of the Myers Way protein powder, paleo protein powder. So the stuff is normally like $65. It's pricey because it's really super high quality, and there's really nothing else like it on the market. And we're offering it at 50% 50% off to you guys if you buy a copy of the Thyroid Connection. So you can buy it at any online retailer. Go back to my website, put in your receipt code, and you'll get that at 50% off. I'm sorry, actually, I back up, and I'm surprised Jordan hadn't sent me some text flashing and screaming. Forgive me. That is incorrect information. We are selling the protein powder along with my book on my website starting today through Sunday at midnight Central Standard Time. So it is a package deal where you get 50% off the protein powder and the book is $25, but you still end up getting all of it for $10 less than you would the Myers Way Paleo Protein Powder. So forgive me for the incorrect information. We have so many promotions going on left and right. My husband's over here shaking his head like, are you kidding me? I mean, we were literally out in Durango and get this text at quarter till from Jordan saying, hey, are you guys ready for the Facebook Live? And we're like, nope, we're not. We're out in Durango, but we will be. So forgive us that I am a little scattered at this moment. I thought I had an hour to prepare a little bit more for this. Okay, so please like, share this, and send it to anybody with thyroid dysfunction or anybody who thinks they have it. And I'm going to jump over, are we ready, Javier, with answering your questions now. Okay, so Sandra, who has been on, I think, both of the Facebook Lives, had a question on a previous Facebook Live about thyroid pooling, and I was unfamiliar with the term. So she kindly sent over a blog that was on, I think, thyroidawareness.org or Stop the Thyroid Madness, one of those websites, a great website, lots of super helpful information. And it was an article. I do not know who it was written by or what their training is. It is a new terminology to me. This is nothing that I have ever heard of or was taught to me in medical school or even in, at the Institute for Functional Medicine. So the gist was kind of a little bit like high reverse T3, but it was saying that you would have a high free T3 and maybe eventually a high reverse T3, but a normal T4, and a lot of like hyperthyroid symptoms. Again, I'm not knocking this idea. I don't see that in my clinic. I certainly see the scenario where people have a normal or a low or potentially a high free T3, but their reverse T3 is even higher. And I talk about this, of course, in the Thyroid Connection. And what this is signaling is free T3 is the gas, is how I like to refer to it, and it gives us energy, keeps our brain working properly, keeps our hair from falling out, keeps us warm, keeps us at our normal weight, and a reverse T3 is kind of like the brake. And I see a high reverse T3 when people are super stressed, when they're starving, when they have high heavy metals, things that are signaling their body to kind of slow down rather than speed up or work at normal capacity. So I see that scenario frequently in my clinic, and certainly I think about toxins, heavy metals, people who are on maybe not necessarily starving, certainly people who have who are anorexic, but even people who are eating a healthy diet but aren't getting the nutrients that they need to make their free T3. And then, of course, people who are super stressed out. So that is something I see frequently. This idea of thyroid pulling or T3 pulling is not something that I actually see after I read the article, and not something that I had been aware of. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It's just not something I'm familiar with or have seen, in my patient population. Okay, so I'm going to jump on to Veronica. When I was first diagnosed, I'm kind of reading off a screen here because the questions come too quickly below that I can't often get to them. And also my eyesight's a little bad at turning 47 last week. So Veronica, when I first got diagnosed 30 years ago with Hashimoto's, I was told by my doctor to avoid iodized salt because my non-functioning thyroid would process it. Is this true? I'm seeing lots of things saying with hypothyroidism I should take iodine in my salt and or supplements. So it's the iodine is a big controversial issue, and of course I talk about the iodine controversy in my book as well, The Thyroid Connection. And I think that many of us are iodine deficient. I mean, the studies are really showing that much of thyroid dysfunction shot up when we got the iodized salt out, and that goiters go away and in populations where there's iodized salt. I don't think that is the only factor. I think the larger factor is really the number of toxins that we have in our environment now that compete with iodine in the body. And our thyroid is the organ that takes up the most iodine. We need iodine to make our thyroid hormone. And when we are being bombarded with bromide, chloride, and fluoride, which are all halides or halogens on the periodic table, which come right next to iodine, they compete in the body. And again, I talk all about this in the book. I'm going to try to be less long-winded in this and try to get to more questions, because I have, a lot of the same questions come over and over. And so you can refer back to the other Facebook Lives, or of course, buy a copy of the Thyroid Connection, and I explain everything that I'm talking about, and cover probably every question that I could possibly be asked on the thyroid in the book. But we are being bombarded with those other halides, and they are displacing iodine. So there are people who advocate very, very high dosages of iodine in the 25 milligrams. I recommend it to be in the micrograms, in the 150 to 300 micrograms. I don't know that doing iodized salt is your best source of iodine. I think maybe, eating sea vegetables and seafood, or possibly taking a supplement. And of course, my multi that I have formulated for thyroid dysfunction will have iodine in it. And our multi right now contains a little bit of iodine, but in the multi that I've formulated, I have increased the amount of that iodine. So I do believe that most people need iodine, whether they're Hashimoto's or Graves'. Now, if you take some iodine and you have an adverse reaction, then of course you would not want to do that, and that is where we get into personalized medicine. Okay, so Renee, my doctor said the one side of my thyroid is enlarged, but there's no need to worry. I have hypo. Is this normal? Well, I don't know what the enlargement is from, but it's probably from inflammation. I mean, why are you hypo? Why are you hypothyroid? Because something's going on in your thyroid. So if one side is enlarged, it's probably that there's inflammation going on over there. And hopefully he's done an ultrasound on you to rule out any, nodules or cysts or cancerous growths on your thyroid. But it is common for people to have what is called a goiter when they have thyroid dysfunction. I started to have one when I had Graves' disease. So it is definitely common to have that. It's inflammation. I mean, thyroid dysfunction is usually an inflammatory process, particularly if it's autoimmune in nature. Okay, Monty, I have Hashimoto's, fibromyalgia, and I just found out I have Lyme's for a long time. Swimming is my therapy. Is there anything I can do to protect myself, presumably from chlorine? That's a really great question. In fact, I wrote an article about this very recently. So I would recommend that you go to my blog. And if you just go into my blog and put thyroid in, all my thyroid articles will pop up. But we have one specifically about swimming. So I love that swimming is your therapy, and in all cases you have to look at positive and negative, or risk versus benefit. So if you are feeling less stressed and calm, and maybe a better pain reduction with your fibromyalgia by swimming, then that's probably going to outweigh the chlorine. But it doesn't mean that we don't want to dismiss the chlorine or think about it. So I would certainly read the article. You can shower afterwards. I'd recommend definitely probably including some iodine in your diet, or getting on the multi that we have, or potentially taking some extra iodine to do that. And also trying to find places that are more natural, or maybe have a saltwater pool if that's available or possible for you. So those are things that I'd recommend. And of course, when you're showering, hopefully you're showering at home with a shower filter. And I personally use Aquasana, and typically you can put in a code either on my website or their site. That's Dr. Myers. Jordan will post it down below, but I believe it's Dr. Myers, and you get typically, I think it's 30 to 40% off any filters from Aquasana. They have great filters, whole home filters, but if you can't afford one of those or don't have the ability to do that, they have shower filters that are very inexpensive, particularly with the discount code. So encourage you to have a shower filter that will help filter out that chlorine. Okay, now I have Debbie. What can I do if I have no thyroid? Well, I don't have a thyroid either, Debbie, so I completely sympathize with you. It stinks, I feel great, but there are days where I'm sure that, I might not feel well, or I have extra stress going on in my life, and I'd love some extra hormone, but I take the same amount every day. So definitely pick up a copy of my book. I mean, the main thing is making sure that you obviously are taking supplemental thyroid hormone, and that you're on the right dose and the right form for you, because this is so personalized and so individualized. And of course, I go over all the various forms of different supplemental thyroid hormone, from the synthetic to the more natural desiccated. I am not an advocate of one over the other. It's whatever works best for you. I personally take some Synthroid, and I also take Westerthyroid Pure. So that's, the combo of those two is what works best for me, but you got to work with your doctor and find out what works best for you. And also, just to bring up those people, I've mentioned this every video, but I have partnered with Your Labs for Life, or My Labs for Life. Again, Jordan will put that link below, and they will have a page up very soon, but you can go there and order your thyroid labs. I don't get anything out of you ordering your thyroid labs from them. So I don't own any stake in that company or anything like that. I just wanted to provide this service to you guys, because I know y'all are all going to get a copy of my book, and you're going to go to your doctor, and some doctors are going to be unwilling to order these labs for you. And I didn't think it fair to write a book and you not be able to take action. And so you can do that. And then hopefully, find a practitioner or a doctor that will work with you. Of course, I have my wellness coach, Liz, can work with you with those results. She won't be able to prescribe supplemental thyroid hormone, but can certainly work with you on dietary issues, doing other types of lab testing, talk to you about supplementation, stress reduction, everything that I talk about in the book. So highly recommend that you guys check them out. If you're having a difficult time getting your labs, it will offer you the ability to get them anywhere in the country. It's US only right now. Okay, now we have Cindy. How long does it take for your antibodies to come down? Well, it depends on what you're doing. Everybody's an individual, and everybody's going to respond differently. And then of course the immune system, it's like turning around the Titanic, and then that just takes time. But typically when somebody comes to see me and I find that they have antibodies on their first visit, I typically check those antibodies about 8 weeks to 3 months later. And as long as somebody's following the program, those antibodies typically are already coming down at that point. So, and gluten is the number one thing that you can do to get off of, to have those antibodies come down. Laurel, hi, I have Graves' disease and my thyroid, and had my thyroid irradiated at 32, now 55 in menopause. My symptoms came back with weight loss, anxiety. What can I do? So this is a really great question. I myself talked about my recent toxic mold exposure, and I had Graves and had my thyroid irradiated, I think about the same age, 32. And then suddenly I got out of our house and my symptoms were coming back raging. It was really crazy. I'd been on the same dose for a long time, and I'm writing a thyroid book, and then I'm getting hyperthyroid. Like, what is the irony in that? Times in your life can change. The hormone, or your thyroid hormone, is very related to estrogen. It is why when women go on the birth control pill or they get pregnant, and if they have hypothyroidism, that they often need to go on more supplemental thyroid hormone, because those high estrogens bind the thyroid. It's called thyroid binding globulin, and it increases that protein. So more of your thyroid binds to that, and you have less of the free hormone. So what could be happening to you is just the opposite, that you are in menopause and your hormone levels, or your estrogen levels could have dropped very low, and you have unbound some of your thyroid hormone, and so you have more of it swimming around. Now, of course, menopause comes with a whole nother set of symptoms, and some of this might be related to low progesterone or low testosterone or low estrogen in and of itself. It might not actually be your thyroid, which is why it's always helpful to have, when you're getting your thyroid tested, also check if you're a female, your female hormones, and if you're a man, your male hormones. So to answer your question, and I think it was it Debbie? They've already erased the question, but to answer the question, it could be your thyroid, in that you have unbound thyroid hormone now circulating, and you need to reduce your supplemental thyroid hormone dose, or it could actually be symptoms of having low hormones and maybe going on some supplemental natural bioidentical hormone replacement would be helpful for you. Okay, Tracy, is hyperthyroid or hypothyroidism harder to cure? Well, so the first thing that I like to say, Tracy, is I don't ever use the word cure, particularly when we're talking about autoimmune diseases, which the vast majority of thyroid dysfunction is autoimmune in nature, because I believe it's once you're on the spectrum, you're always on the spectrum. Can you get all the way down the spectrum where you don't have symptoms, you don't need medication, and you don't have antibodies? Yes, I see that very frequently. But you're probably always on that spectrum, just like what happened to me. I had a toxic mold exposure, and I had gone down the spectrum and I started creeping up, and then of course have gotten myself back down. So I don't ever use the word cure, but which is easier to manage? Again, that's an individual situation, and it really depends on what we're talking about in terms of managing. When it comes to hypothyroidism, in a certain way, that's easier to manage because people's symptoms will go away, of course, when you go through the program, but when you put them on supplemental thyroid hormone. Graves' disease, there's not an easy way to stop the thyroid from overproducing. Now, in my book, The Thyroid Connection, I do talk about this and offer a program for people with hypothyroidism and hyper. And those with hyper, I offer some herbs, and they're available on my website now. If you are somebody with Graves or with hyperthyroidism, we do have an article, or I have an article on Graves on my website that you can read now and follow the instructions regarding the herbs, the thyroid calming herbs. And but that can take a lot longer to work than if somebody's already hypothyroid and you simply give them supplemental thyroid hormone. So of course, when we're talking about the program in general, that's an individual thing of how long it takes for somebody to feel better on the program. But the reason that this book, The Thyroid Connection, is much more of a work with your doctor book is because you can't do it alone. If you have a thyroid dysfunction that requires supplemental thyroid hormone, then you're going to need to work with a doctor. And so you can, not do the diet and get on supplemental thyroid hormone and probably feel better. Now, are you going to feel optimal, and have you gotten to the root cause and have you solved the problem? No, if you don't do the program. However, that will probably make you feel better. And those with Graves' disease, once you get on the herbs, or if you decide to do the conventional route of the medication, of course, that's completely your choice if you decide to do that. It takes a little bit longer for those to work than it does for the supplemental thyroid hormone to work. Okay, Bethany, I have thyroid nodules, and I've been told that once they're there, they'll always be there. Is that true? Also, basically, I was told you have nodules, and that was it. What do these nodules point towards, and should I be worried? My sister had thyroid cancer at age 30. So I don't know that anybody really knows what these nodules are. They're usually calcifications. And, there is a whole theory that breast calcifications, or even like fibroids in the uterus, and then cysts and nodules in the thyroid are all excess estrogen, and that iodine can really help with those. So I would follow the program in the book. I would continue to have them check to make sure if you need to work that out with your doctor if they need to have a biopsy with this family history of thyroid cancer. I don't know what they were able to tell you just based on your ultrasound, but many times when something is found on an ultrasound, then they usually do a biopsy as well, just to rule out cancer. So if that didn't happen with you, you might want to go back to your doctor and just, ask why and get more information. And just for everybody, I always recommend that you get your results, no matter what they are: lab results, ultrasound results, CAT scan results, x-ray, whatever it is, get your results from your doctor before you walk out the door. As you probably know, trying to get your results after the fact is like trying to get, something out of Fort Knox. So get those and have them so that you can take them wherever you want. You can read over them. I always find stuff, particularly on ultrasounds and CAT scans, that are mentioned in the information that never got passed on to the patient, or things that I don't find are normal or certainly optimal on lab results that, don't get discussed with patients because they're just written in, normal range. So I'm going to take another sip of water here, and hold on. So again, everybody, just want to appreciate those people who have pre-ordered their copy of the Thyroid Connection book. If you haven't, I would love for you to pre-order a copy. You can get it anywhere online: Barnes & Noble, iTunes, Indie Books, of course, Amazon. And if you pre-order before September 27th, you'll get a $10 gift card at my online store. There's over $1,000 worth of downloads available on my website afterwards, after you pre-order, and you can enter to win a free trip to come see me in Austin, Texas. And we have a special going on right now that if you there will be I assume an email sent out. I didn't have a chance to touch base with Jordan before this because we were so focused on me getting to the hotel on time to come do this Facebook Live. But if you're on my newsletter list, there will be a email going out that will have a bundle, which is to purchase the Thyroid Connection from me. It'll actually come from CEO Reads, not from me, so it will come from them on September 27th when it's released, and you'll get the Myers Way Paleo Protein Powder at 50% off. So those two combined, it still ends up saving you $10 off getting the Paleo Protein Powder. So you're either buying the book and getting the Paleo Protein Powder at 50% off, or you are buying the Paleo Protein Powder, saving $10 and getting the book for free. So however you want to look at it, it's a great deal. And part of the 28-day program in my book, which is a day-by-day program and has, of course, a dietary component and a stress reduction and lifestyle component to the program, as opposed to the autoimmune solution that just had a dietary component. This really, I have some daily practices for you to do regarding stress this time around and lifestyle changes. And this protein powder is used in the 28 days for smoothies and some other recipes. So it's a great time to get your book if you haven't, or to get another book to give away to somebody else, a friend or a family member, or a Christmas gift or something like that. So, okay. So, and please like and share this, and with anybody that you know who has been diagnosed with thyroid dysfunction, or anybody who suspects that they may have thyroid dysfunction but has been told by their doctor that their labs are normal. Okay, so hi Amy. Hi Amy. I have Hashimoto's and high cortisol levels. What do you recommend? I don't mean to sound cliche, but I do recommend buying the Thyroid Connection book and following the program, because we have an adrenal quiz in there. I talk about adrenal fatigue, which the stages of adrenal fatigue are getting super high cortisols and then burning out. So you're on your way if you have super high cortisols, that you're very stressed. And the book, as I mentioned, this time around has a full chapter just on stress. As I mentioned, I had a toxic mold exposure, became hyperthyroid. I mean, literally went through hell while I was writing this book. And, you know, if you read the acknowledgments at the end of the book, I talk about my village that helped get me well. But talk about stress. I had 3 months to write a book, and I was running a practice and running another online business, and got this toxic mold exposure, moved into an apartment, sleeping on the floor with absolutely nothing, and became hyperthyroid. And luckily I was ahead of the game with my book. We had gotten halfway through and I was ahead of the game. But talk about stress and adrenal issues. So I had to do some major stress interventions while I was writing this book in order to get myself well, keep myself, you know, from absolutely falling apart and being able to finish this book. And so I talk about everything that I did in this book. And it's, I mean, everything that I write about, as you guys all, you know, typically know, I think, things that I recommend, it's not stuff that I'm getting paid for when I mention Well People or Milk and Honey. You know, I do get an affiliate income from Aquasana, but most of the things that I talk about, I get no income. These are literally things that I use in my life. And so that is the way of all the things that I'm suggesting. Many of them are free. Some of them require a gadget or, you know, possibly an intervention. And these are not things that I'm getting kickbacks from. They are things that I literally did to help myself during an extremely stressful time, and that I continue to do. And so I would recommend, Amy, that you get the book. I mean, of course, I have articles on my website, but getting the book. Heart rate variability, heart math is an incredible thing to do every day. Practice paced breathing. There is something called Muse, which is individual meditation. It really just depends on you and what you like doing for stress reduction, but you got to get that cortisol down, and that's going to help with the Hashimoto's, and of course the dietary lifestyle changes that I talk about in the book. Okay, Kathy, can I take your multivitamin with Hashimoto's? Of course. I mean, I'm formulating this multivitamin and writing about it in a book, and the book is for people with Hashimoto's, Graves, thyroid cancer, thyroid nodules, people who think they have thyroid dysfunction but have told they don't. So of course you can. So you can take our regular multi now. We had a little setback with my other specially formulated multi. We're hoping it will be here by the time of the book release. If not, it will be there the week after. So we'll probably have it up on my website soon that you could maybe start pre-ordering it. But my regular multi right now does contain some iodine, and then we also have an extra iodine supplement on my website that's iodine and tyrosine, the two things that you really need to help make your thyroid hormone. And I do believe for most people that those are safe levels. I am recommending in microgram dosages, not these milligram dosages. So again, you want to just try it on yourself, see how you do. But I find that I have had very, very, very few people that have had any adverse reactions to the microgram dosages that I'm recommending. Okay, so hi Kelly, I read selenium can increase the risk of diabetes. Being overweight and borderline diabetic, I do not want to increase that risk. Well, I haven't read that study or reference to is selenium increasing your risk of diabetes. Oh my gosh, there is a deer right outside our window. I wish I could turn it. It's there. We've been seeing these. Our hotel room just backs up to this little, hill, a little bluff, something, and the deer come down at night. It's a very inexpensive hotel where we are. We're in Durango, Colorado. There's not much to choose from, and we could either face the highway or face this hill, and we're facing the hill. And the first night we opened the window and saw some deer feeding, and so they're usually down here around 5 or 6, but one just came by. That was fun. Okay, so I'm not aware of the selenium increasing your risk for diabetes, but I think if you follow the program in the book, you're going to decrease your risk for diabetes, because the dietary program, I'm assuming that you're referring to type 2 diabetes, which is really a modern day disease based on our diet. So if you follow the dietary program in the Thyroid Connection or even the autoimmune solution, or that I talk about, anywhere on my website, I think that you're going to be lowering your risk of diabetes. And if you want to send over a study talking about selenium and diabetes, you're welcome to send that over to my staff and I'll take a look at it. But it's multifactorial, and I wouldn't single in on one single solitary supplement or nutrient, particularly if you're getting it from real whole foods. And all of just to back up, you all may be familiar with my book, The Autoimmune Solution, and many people say, well, how is this book different? Well, it's different that it's very specific to the thyroid. This book is different in that it's very much how to work with your doctor. This book is different that it talks about underlying root causes specific to the thyroid, such as the nutrient deficiencies, as well as the other underlying causes that I talk about in the other book. I have a whole chapter on stress. I have a 28-day plan. We got feedback with the Autoimmune Solution that they were overwhelmed with the supplements, and maybe the plan we had only given, kind of 1 day sample. We have every day, it's 28 pages long. It's every day, exactly what to do, your stress reduction activities, the supplements to take, and all of the recipes have been formulated by my former registered dietitian. And I say former because Brianne Williams is now a mother to Rowan, who is absolutely adorable. And so she has unfortunately left me, but I'm hoping I can grab her back for book number 3 or 4 or somewhere along the line. But Brianne Williams and I worked so hard on all these recipes to create them to be bringing you the nutrients naturally in your food, such as zinc and selenium and iodine, and not eating things such as cruciferous vegetables in the raw form, but eating them in the cooked form in order to support your thyroid. So these are all new recipes. There are a couple that were just top favorites of mine and other people, everybody who read the book from the Autoimmune Solution, but these are all new recipes with an all new program. And I do recommend trying to get all of these nutrients to the best of your ability through your food. Now, because we live in such a stressed out world, we all have leaky guts, and they're full of toxins that are bombarding our body and our immune system and our thyroid. Some people do need to supplement. So I tried to, pare it down and again create this thyroid, the Myers Way thyroid support multivitamin, in order so that we could kind of streamline that. And then of course there'll be some omega-3s and a probiotic and vitamin D. And then if people have autoimmunity, there may be some others and very specific mutations, of supplementation. But the idea is really to get it from your food. So Debbie, I wouldn't focus so much on a single nutrient rather than looking at your diet as a whole and the other contributing factors of diabetes. Okay, so I have Helen. You talk about cutting out gluten. Should dairy and sugar be cut out also, and why? Of course. So gluten, through molecular mimicry, gluten can look very similar to many different tissues in our body, but very specifically the thyroid. So that's why I recommend cutting out gluten. And it's too long of a conversation to go into, but it's in the book and all over my website and in the autoimmune solution about how bad gluten is now that we have hybridized it and we're spraying it with Roundup unless it's organic. So that is contributing to leaky gut. I'm going to interject here and actually remind you all, because I have not done that yet on this Facebook Live, that I'm also hosting the Thyroid Connection Summit, October 24th through 31st. And I've interviewed over 35 experts. And what triggered my mind was that I interviewed Dr. Alessio Fasano, who is the leading researcher at Harvard regarding leaky gut, gluten sensitivity, and celiac. So I interview him about gluten on the summit, as well as some other just amazing people that you all know. Dr. David Perlmutter, Dr. Mark Hyman. I have Josh Axe. I have Heather White, who was from EWG.org previously. I have Jeffrey Smith, who is Institute of Responsible Technology, talking about GMOs. So just an incredible lineup of people. And it's a free event during the 7 days of which it's being aired. Of course, you can purchase it and view it at your own time or after the fact, but it is free for the 7 days. So I highly recommend that you guys join us for that event. And so back to the gluten. So gluten molecular mimicry with thyroid, and up to about 60% of people with a gluten issue have a dairy issue, again, because of this molecular mimicry. And then sugar, yes, I do recommend that you give it up at least during the program for the 28 days or until your symptoms resolve. I cannot tell you that I don't ever eat sugar, although I was reading this Facebook article the other day. I don't know if y'all have seen it going around on Facebook about the 100% rule. And it's really cool. You know, I mean, I am 100%, free of many things, but particularly gluten and dairy. And so it's just such a non-issue. And I thought, if I could go 100% sugar free, that would just, ease up my life, because it's just, you just don't even think about it. But I can't tell you that on my birthday, I didn't have, what did I have? I had some chocolate sorbet. And my sister, I was visiting my sister in Bend, Oregon, and I woke up to gluten-free, dairy-free donuts. So not the norm for breakfast, but it was my birthday. So I can't tell you that I don't ever eat sugar, but yeah, I mean, we would all be much better if we completely eliminated sugar and vastly reduce it. And in my programs, I do recommend that it is part of the program to give that up for the 28 days or until your symptoms have resolved. Okay, I think I think I'll answer just a couple more questions here. We are getting near the end. I can't believe how quickly this time goes by. Originally, we were only going to do these for 30 minutes, but I love answering your questions. I love talking about thyroid. You all know that conventional medicine failed me. It is my mission to not have it fail you too. So I want to reach as many people as possible. I don't want people to have the fate that I had, which was to have my thyroid ablated after already getting toxic hepatitis from the harsh medications that I had to take for Graves' disease. So I do want people to know that there is a much better way to handle Graves' disease. There is a way to reverse this, and certainly with Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism, there are better ways to deal with this, and working with your doctor to help reverse your symptoms, to get your life back, and to, most importantly, if you do need supplemental thyroid hormone, to make sure you're getting the right test, you're getting them diagnosed or reviewed properly, and that you're on the right type and right form of supplemental thyroid hormone while you are going through a program that's going to help improve your symptoms, reverse your antibodies, and also get to the root cause of why you got this in the first place. So please like and share this with anybody that you think has thyroid dysfunction or thinks that they might. So I'm going to answer a couple more questions here before we wrap things up. Lona, my thyroid was irradiated via nuclear capsules. I'm assuming you had swallowed iodine 131 capsules just like I did. I'm now stuck on prescription replacement thyroid tablets. Is there a reason to attempt thyroid nutritional support at this point? Absolutely. I am in your same boat, but conventional medicine solved your problem and solved my problem by blowing up our thyroid, but they never got to the root cause of why you had that thyroid dysfunction in the first place. So this book is going to help you discover the root cause. It is going to help you prevent any further damage, because damage was going on in your body and it just happened to show up in your thyroid, and then conventional medicine blew up your thyroid. Do you think that now whatever was causing, potentially, I don't know if yours was autoimmune or not, but causing that inflammation or that autoimmunity to start in the first place, if you don't address that, it's just going to show up somewhere else. It's just like a patient of mine that, came in the other day after having ulcerative colitis that got so bad that he had his colon removed, and said, I feel great now. I had my colon removed and I, have a colostomy. Well, okay, so conventional medicine cut out all this inflammation, but why did you have it in the first place? And if you don't get to that root cause, it's going to show up somewhere else. So you definitely want to do that. And of course, you might be able to reduce your supplemental thyroid hormone because you are now taking nutrients or eating food that helps you make that conversion naturally in your body. I mean, your body still needs to make the conversion from T4 to T3. That happens outside the thyroid gland, actually, most of which happens in your gut. So you got to fix your gut. You want to change your diet. So this is just going to help you overall possibly be able to reduce the amount that you're on, prevent any further damage somewhere else in your body, prevent something else from going wrong, getting another autoimmune disease, and hopefully you feel great on the dose and type of supplemental thyroid hormone that you're on. But if you're still having symptoms, it also could help you work with your doctor to make sure that you're getting the right dose and the right form that you need, because that's a huge problem for people, particularly those of us without a thyroid, because we don't have a thyroid to kick in and make up for what our doctor isn't giving us. Okay, so I'm going to answer another question, which is, Laura, I've been taking iodine supplements. Are there symptoms of iodine overdose to watch for? So I don't know specifically about iodine overdose, but I think what you would notice is that it would be affecting your thyroid. There are people that maybe would start having hypothyroid symptoms, or either hyperthyroid symptoms, depending on kind of what the iodine is doing and what your underlying condition is. So I don't know of any actual iodine toxicity, so to speak. I mean, there is, but I think before you get to that point, you're going to see symptoms that are going to be of either hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. Okay, so I just wanted to remind everybody that we are doing these Facebook Lives every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. I just got a little confused today because it was Mountain Time and we were originally going to do it at 6, but it seemed like we had more people on at the 3 o'clock hour. So every Tuesday, and then the week that the book comes out, I'll be doing one every day. Signing up for my newsletter is a great way to know about information. And if you pre-order your book now before September 27th at any online retailer, you can get a $10 gift card to use on my store. You can get over $1,000 worth of free downloads of guides and recipes and all kinds of information. You can see what that is before you buy it on my website. Just go under amymyersmd.com and my book, or you can go to thyroidconnection.com. And then you can also enter to win a trip to come hang out with me and 5 other people in Austin, Texas. And we're going to do a pampering wellness day. And all of that will be paid for and here in Austin, Texas. And then one lucky winner will even get their hotel and their flight paid for. So, and you can also submit your story to enter to win that as well. You don't actually have to buy a book to do that, although I certainly would appreciate if you do. And then starting now through Sunday, Central Standard Time, midnight, we have a bundle offering on my book, on my website, on my store, where you will purchase the Thyroid Connection or pre-order the Thyroid Connection off of my store. It will come from CEO Reads, and you get the Myers Way Paleo Protein Powder at 50% off, and that's a $10 savings, and basically you're getting the book for free, however you look at it, and a newsletter will be going out soon about that. So please like and share this. I really appreciate all of you all showing up today and watching this. And I know that I couldn't get to everybody's question, But please keep coming back, and I will eventually get to your question. And if I don't get to your individual question, I can assure you there's really not been a question that's been asked of me today that is not covered in my book, The Thyroid Connection. So you can always pick up a copy of The Thyroid Connection, and your question will likely be answered there as well. And I do appreciate everybody for showing up. I appreciate those of you who have pre-ordered your book. And again, it is my goal to reach as many people as possible. I'd love to be back on the New York Times bestseller list. My chance of doing that is the greatest this first week of release. So your pre-sales count towards that, and it's really helpful. And what that does, I don't get anything out of being a New York Times bestseller other than getting to say that I am one. But what it helps is that it gets better placement in bookstores, so more people will see it. It gets more press out in the news when that happens. And so we and I will get to reach more people, which is my main goal here. Conventional medicine failed me, and it is my mission to not have it fail you too. So please, please help me in reaching more people. And I want you guys to have a healthy, vibrant life. And I hope that my book will do that for you. Thanks so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing you guys back again next Thursday at 3 Central Standard Time. Thanks so much, and y'all have a great evening. Take care. Bye. I think I'm still live. Javier's telling me that the deer outside is pregnant. I'm trying to figure out how to close this off. So, can we show them the deer? I'm going to get up and see if y'all are still online, if I can show you the deer in our messy hotel room. Let's see. Is she out there? Oh my God. Okay, I'm going to show you the deer. Say hi, everybody on Facebook Live. Say, please purchase Dr. Meyer's book, The Thyroid Connection. I hope y'all were able to see the deer. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Say hello. It's dark because of the sun, so they can't really... Javier's telling me to get over here. He's the photographer. Can you see the deer out there, everybody? Hi! Say everybody. Hello from Durango, Colorado. And I hope that you purchase Dr. Meyer's book, The Thyroid Connection. It will make me very happy. Thank you. Okay, everybody. There's Javier in the background. Say hi, babe.
Hello.
Okay. Bye, everybody.